Welcome to Building Tomorrow's Insurer, where we explore the cutting edge of insurtech and digital innovation in the insurance industry. I'm your host, Nigel Fellowes-Freeman, and today we are joined by the incredible Lisa Carter, the CEO and Managing Director of Clear Insurance. Lisa is a highly awarded expert. She's really pushing the bounds of the industry towards a very client-focused risk advice model, really driving the way there. And she's the appointed risk and insurance expert for the Queensland Leaders and serves on the Small Business Finance Advisory Panel for the Reserve Bank of Australia. And in this episode, we're going to dive really deep into Lisa's very innovative approach and how she's approaching client-focused risk advice, her vision for the future of insurance, and importantly, how she's really navigating the evolving landscape of risk advisory. It's something that I know a lot of brokers are focused on and trying to understand how they can add massive value to their clients, and Lisa is driving the way here. So I'm really, really excited about that. And so Lisa, it is so wonderful to have you here today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for the opportunity, Nigel. It's lovely to be here.
Awesome. Lisa, I'm going to go a little bit offbeat right out of the gate, because I think sometimes it is wonderful to understand a bit about the person that kind of then creates the story. And how did your insurance journey start? Where did your passion and everyone has a different journey in how they got into the industry. I'd love to know yours.
Well, I think like most people in the insurance industry, I fell into the insurance industry when I was 17. So I literally started off as a receptionist at a insurance brokerage on the Sunshine Coast, and I was looking for full-time office work and door knocking up and down the street in Maroochydore, and Steel Pacific gave me a job as a receptionist, and that's how I ended up in the insurance industry.
Wow. So just kind of curved your way through from reception into different kind of roles within the brokerage itself.
Yeah, that's right. So I started off as a receptionist and quickly learnt the craft of broking, moved down to Sydney and worked for a couple of suburban brokers down there. I did realise very quickly that insurance seemed to be a great career opportunity. So that's why I decided to make the move down to Sydney to pursue that as a career. And I worked with a number of brokers down there, as I mentioned, but my heart was always in Queensland and I was missing my family. So I came back to Brisbane and was lucky enough to get a role with Aon. And I worked as a junior broker initially, and then started off servicing clients and becoming a broker from there.
Absolutely love it. And what was the jump? What was the jump to start Clear Insurance? How did your background help you make that decision to make that jump? And then specifically, your very client-focused risk advice approach. Those two things together I'm really, really interested in.
Well, I think I've always been a passionate client advocate. I think it's when you work with business owners and you understand the passion that they have for their businesses and how hard they work, it's just our role as brokers to do the best for them. So I found it quite easy to become very passionate about serving my clients in their best interests. So I decided to finish up my career with Aon, and after 11 years working at Aon in a number of various roles, which was an excellent training ground, I really encourage younger brokers to do some time at an international brokerage. Just the training and the development and the structure is an excellent way to learn the craft of broking. But I was actually pregnant with my second daughter, and back at that time, there was no such thing as remote access, or there just wasn't the technology to support working from home. And I think most of the high-level execs at Aon had, in inverted commas, remote access, but the people on the ground and the bulk of the servicing team, it was expected to come into the office to do the work and perform your role. So while I was pregnant with my second daughter and I was actually a contractor to Aon, I decided that I needed more flexible working conditions, and I also wanted to service my clients in a more open market way, meaning that I wanted to be able to have access to the full market and deal with underwriting agencies and all types of insurers. So every broking firm has different ways of operating, and I just felt that I needed full flexibility for my family, and so that I could spend time with my baby, which was due to arrive in 4 months' time, and have the flexibility to service my clients in the way that I wanted. So they were probably the two key factors around why I decided to join Insurance AdviseNet and start Clear Insurance as an authorised rep to IA, and that model worked beautifully because I managed to have my office being my laptop with me, with my newborn baby, starting to develop insurer relationships and go for coffees with my baby in my pram and meet with insurers and start my business. So I was very fortunate to be able to do that and be a mum and focus on my career as well, which was equally as important to me, and maintain client relationships along the way.
That is that so much respect as well. I have two little babies, a little bit bigger now, 5 and 2, but I understand.
Oh, you're in the
demand.
trenches.
I'm right in the trenches. Those little kids that have big demand, and also starting a new business is pretty demanding. And so balancing those two things, was there any, if you're advising an upcoming mum or parent who is looking to take your journey of looking to start their own business, but they have maybe had small children or starting, is there any kind of takeaways that you had that you're like, these are some things that you learned that you want to pass on?
Oh, so many. I think most importantly, have a business plan, have a really solid plan written down, make sure that you've got your support around you, family-wise, to be able to start a business. Look at your financial situation, make sure you've got the cash flow to be able to take the leap. And they're the most critical points is really have a structured plan of attack and know where your new business is going to come from, know how you're going to grow your business, and then my advice would be, with a solid plan, go for it. If you know you've got the skill and you know that you've got the relationships and you know that you can be successful in bringing on new business and manage your cash flow well, then why not? I think the opportunity to start your own business and work in the way that you want to there's so many benefits from a flexibility perspective, easier working conditions. There's a caveat to that though. You work harder than ever before. When you run your own business, it's you're working 24/7, but the flexibility that it gives you and the freedom to serve your clients in the way that you want to, it's just such a wonderful opportunity. But you need a solid plan.
Solid plan's important, and you touched on there just at the end of that little piece there around servicing. And from doing a little bit of digging and research, there's something that you and specifically Clear Insurance has a very, very it's very, very important to you as a group, I believe. And I'm interested to understand what enables you to offer that kind of very tailored, localized, contextual solution to your customers that maybe the larger brokerages like an Aon, etc., or other brokerages that are not able to.
Well, insurance is a relationship business. There's just no doubt about it. We have all of these digital platforms and portals and whatnot, but at the end of the day, people do business with people that they like. Humans do business with people, other humans that they enjoy being around and spending time with. And once you develop that trust and work on building that relationship, it's a much more easier and enjoyable transaction or experience for everyone concerned. So servicing clients is our main priority, or delivering excellent service to our clients is our main priority, because that is what we enjoy doing, and that's what makes the whole transaction or insurance purchasing and risk transfer transaction enjoyable. So it's absolutely critical to make sure that our clients are experiencing the level of service that they deserve and that they're paying for. And that's what sets us apart, because we do have that opportunity to develop more personal relationships. We're not restricted by product lines or segregated claims teams. So our servicing methodology at Clear is that the account manager helps the client from placement to claims and anything in between. So you get that opportunity to build that trusted relationship with our team, not just the main servicer, but also the entire Clear Insurance team. So we're all here to help our clients and to build relationships and make insurance easy for them.
That's very interesting. So single touch point for the insured throughout the life cycle, from quote to bind to management to anything claim, or throughout the life cycle, you're working with a trusted person that you want to spend some time with.
That's right. So you'll have your main broker contact or your main account manager, and then our wider team will also get involved in servicing the client. But it's really important that the client has that main sort of contact, that main person that they know understands their business deeply and can build that relationship over time, and to make the whole experience just much more easy for them.
And you've pushed, as an extension of this, I believe, kind of Clear taking a real stance in business model as well around how you work with your customers, which I understand is getting a huge amount of positive feedback over time from the relationships you have. Would you mind touching on that a little bit and giving some insight into why you thought about that kind of business model innovation and how you implement it across the business?
Well, I think it's, of course, all in line with our brand, Clear Insurance. It's about being fully transparent and making the transaction or the experience and the relationship easy. So part of that is the remuneration, and it's been a hot topic in the insurance broking industry for a few years now, particularly since the Quality of Advice Review was delivered by Michelle Levy. It's important for it to be a transparent relationship, and there's so many benefits in charging fee for service, which is the model that we've adopted. So I decided to move Clear Insurance to the fee for service remuneration model about 3 years ago now. And so we don't collect commissions from insurers at all across our entire portfolio, which includes our micro SME and our larger corporate style accounts. And we have developed our own calculation on that, and it does vary between the different types of clients, and we are negotiable on what we charge as our advisor fee. But the feedback that we've received from our clients, the ones that I've held relationships with for some 20 years, their feedback's been nothing but positive. It just takes the guesswork out of the relationship, and we can demonstrate our value, and the client knows what they're paying us, they know what we're earning, and it also has the benefit of reducing their statutory charges. So GST and stamp duty are calculated on premiums that include commission. So our clients pay less statutory charges as a result. Whilst it's not massive savings, it's still a saving. And I don't think our clients should be paying statutory charges on commissions or hidden commissions in insurance policies. Not to mention the operational benefits of not collecting commissions, reporting, accounting. It's just simple. We don't collect commission. So our advisor fee is our income, and that's that.
Just listening to that, the other thing that jumps out a little bit to me is potentially aligned incentive, which is you're incentivized to, and not that brokers are not incentivized to get the best policy and the best wording for their clients, but the reality is that if you're taking commission on a number and the number's bigger, then your commission is bigger. And so by that being completely eradicated, then it completely aligns incentives, I think, of Clear and their clients, that it doesn't matter what the premium is, doesn't matter what the wording is, you're just going to do what's absolutely right for the customer.
Absolutely. Again, it's a bit of a sore point in the insurance broking industry. I firmly believe that people can potentially be biased in the advice that they give if there's a higher commission rate on offer. It's just human nature. I don't think anyone can deny that as a salesperson, if you're taking a sales focus on the transaction, you're going to look at two options to put forward to a client, and if they're pretty line ball, then you're going to recommend the higher commission rate. Whereas if you take the commission out of the equation and there are two offers on the table from two separate insurers, then you let the client decide. We make recommendations, but we disclose everything that the market has to offer to our clients. And sometimes clients surprise us with the decisions that they make. They'll prefer one insurer over another from an experience that their mother-in-law had 10 years ago, where they don't want to deal with that insurer because they ripped off mum-in-law on a home insurance claim. So you just don't know what people's purchasing decisions are. And it's our role as advisors to put everything on the table and let the clients make an informed purchasing decision. So I firmly believe that commissions can bias advice, and I really question if commissions are in the best interests of consumers.
Super interesting. Taking that a little step further and making those kind of judgment calls require incredible leadership. And you spoke a little bit about your journey through the insurance sector and working at those smaller boutique brokerages up through to a big global brokerage like Aon. I'm sure there's a number of experiences that really shaped you and your leadership style. Can you talk to any of those experiences around how critical you think leadership is, and maybe some of the experiences that helped form your kind of leadership style and how you go about things?
Yeah, it's leadership is such a important part of running any brokerage or business. And one mentor, I would say it's important to have a mentor or a number of mentors throughout your career. And I would encourage people, brokers of all ages, to always seek out a mentor, no matter where you are in whatever stage of your career. But I think the most strong leadership I've had was a manager that I had at Aon, and the team that I was a part of at that time was, of course, very heavily male dominated, and there was 4 female brokers out of about 25 or 28 brokers. And I was quite young at the time, and he gave me every opportunity as a young broker at the age of 25 to become an authorised rep at Aon. So he really supported me and believed in me, and I think without his support very early on in my career, I think I could have very easily fallen into that trap of being an employed broker and just year after year doing the same thing. So I think leadership and seeking out the right mentor and seeking advice from your managers and looking to grow as a person, and if you want to become a leader yourself, then what skills do you need to learn? What steps do you need to take in order to improve your skill set, to become a strong leader. And obviously the emotional intelligence, EQ, is really important, and to decide what sort of a leader you'd like to be.
Right. Is there any lessons you've learned? I think about this a lot, which is everyone makes mistakes, and it's really how you learn from them and move on. And we've all made mistakes in leadership. Is there any, maybe either on one side, mistakes you've made that you've learned from, and on the other side, some leadership things that you've done have been kind of really transformative in kind of how you've helped and mentored people that you've been working with?
I think being a leader, where I've learned how to lead on the fly, so to speak, since starting my business, probably the most important lesson I've learned is to ensure that you're hiring the right person for the role. And as a small business, it's easy to hire people that you know and people that you like or have worked with in the past. It's really important to make sure that you're hiring the right person with the right skill set at the right time, and really making sure you're understanding what the business needs and what your clients need, and hiring based on that rather than people you know. And that's probably the hardest lesson I've learned over time in growing my business. But from a leadership perspective, I think what I've most enjoyed of late is really supporting people at Clear to grow and learn, and to push them forward and challenge them. And I've really enjoyed watching a few of our team members step into that challenge, and they're doing really well. So Jen Bettridge, who's our Clear leader, she was just a Queensland state finalist for the NEBA Broker of the Year award this year. So it's great to be able to champion other brokers and push them forward and help them grow with the knowledge that I've learned and developed over the years.
Love it. Just be part of that journey. That's so great. And I want to change gears a little bit here, Lisa, if that's okay. I've heard you talk a lot about advice, and we'll get on to the term broker and advice in a little bit, but we'll save that. But before we go there, the nature of risk advice is evolving. I'd love to understand how you think about how the landscape is changing. Has big global events like the pandemic impacted risk advice? Has there been a shift in how brokers are approaching risk advisory on a macro level, and even down to kind of your daily life? I'm really interested in how your perspective on risk, how that's changing, and how it's changing within the landscape today.
Oh, it's changing so quickly, and there's so much. The world's in a state of flux and change, and I think the pace of change and the risks that businesses are facing now, it's just growing in pace and speed. So the role of an insurance advisor now and going forward, I think, is definitely more of a advisory role. We need to really understand our clients' business operations deeply and be able to give them the advice that they need to help them be informed about the risks that are in their business. So risks such as pandemics, AI, cyber attacks, political tensions, supply chain issues. There's so many weather events, increased weather events. There's so many risks now for businesses, just being more of a global community, and the being connected and doing business with countries outside of Australia. There's so many risks now that businesses face, and as a risk and insurance advisor, it's just so important to sit down with your clients and discuss their business operations. We just can't operate on a transactional basis anymore. You're not doing your job as a risk advisor, if you're risk and insurance advisor, if you're sitting down talking with business owners about giving them a quote on their insurances. There's too much complexity, and I see that the pressure with technology advancement in the way that we interact with insurers, and that being quote portals and online placement of business, which is great. We all want efficiency, but there's that level of complexity now that there's a lot of insurance or there's a lot of risk that just simply can't be covered off by insurance products. So our role as advisors is very critical in making sure we connect business owners with other advisors, such as risk surveyors or other specialists that can help provide more advice around, say, people risk or managing the people risk in your business, or the financial risk in your business, or the operational risk in your business. So there's so many other facets that we need to guide our clients on now. So our role as insurance advisors is very quickly changing.
Very quickly. And a part of that change is accessibility. And I think that's a theme that is pretty deep and meaningful to yourself. I'd love to hear how you can debunk the myth that maybe insurance advice is maybe inaccessible, I should say, or too expensive for a small business. If you put yourself in a lot of small businesses' mindsets could be, I can't afford the great advice. I kind of, price is very important to me, and therefore the level of advice that would be meaningful to me is inaccessible. Like, is that a myth? Is that true? Can you bust it for me if it is?
Look, I think the insurance broking industry could do a whole lot better on explaining what we do, and really explaining to business owners that we're here to help them. We're a professional service, no different to their accountant or their lawyers. They go and take tax and accounting advice from their accountants, and risk and insurance is the same. We're a professional service here to help our clients understand their risks and transfer that risk to insurance. And so as an industry, we really do need to improve the way that we explain what we do, and to demonstrate our value, and to offer fee for service risk advice. And of course, advice is affordable for micro business. We have a minimum advisor fee for each policy that we charge for any type of insurance policy. If the fee for service model is too low, then we charge that minimum per policy fee. We also very happily charge a fee for just pure risk advice or pure reviews. So we don't actually necessarily place any insurances for a client, but we step them through a risk review process and charge a fee for that. So advice is always accessible. It's just demonstrating our value and explaining that to the business owner that they can afford it. It's important that they take advice. And most importantly, we explain our value at claim time. And that is where I firmly believe that a lot of complaints that go to AFCA could be avoided if a broker was involved. And in fact, if you look at the statistics of the number of complaints that do go through AFCA where it's broker intermediated business, they're much, much lower than the business or the complaints that come out of direct business or business that's placed direct with insurers. So we need to demonstrate our value better as a broking fraternity.
And this is like the perfect segue into broker versus advisor. I think because how you just articulated that, when you think of the word insurance broker, what that conjures up in your mind is this isn't meant in no kind of derogatory way, but it conjures up a version of the role is to go out and find quotes and then bring your broking quotes, and you go out and you find a bunch of quotes and you bring them back to the customer. And think the advisor has a very different mental model that's associated with it. And so I'm interested, obviously, I know you feel passionately about this. Broker versus advisor. It makes sense to me when you've just when you've just talked that through with me. What do you think? What's your position here?
Oh, I have a very clear position on this, which I've made clear over the years. I think the word broker should be banned. I just don't think it demonstrates what we do for our clients at all. The term risk and insurance advisor is much more appropriate, and I agree that the word broker, as a consumer, you would immediately think, well, they're going to go out and get me the best quote. And of course, we do that as part of being a risk and insurance advisor, but that's not the main activity that we perform. That's the end game of going out and arranging the insurance. The critical part is giving the risk and insurance advice. And so that's why I think the term risk and insurance advisor is much more appropriate for the insurance broking fraternity. And I also would go one step further and say that I think the word quote should be another word that should be banned. We don't use the word quote at Clear Insurance at all in any of our documentation, in any of our correspondence to our clients. We use the word advice or submission or recommendation. So they're the words that we use rather than, dear sir, here are your insurance quotes. It's, dear sir, here's our recommendation on your risk and insurance requirements.
I love it. Yeah. Remove broker, remove quote, and see it's so interesting how semantics makes a big difference in terms of how the perception is there, and your kind of synergy in terms of talking about an accountant as a tax advisor. They talk about exactly as you have. That's super enlightening.
It really shifts gears in a conversation. When we sit down with a new business client that's obviously got in touch with us for whatever reason, they're not satisfied, they've had a poor claims experience. Anyhow, they're talking to us as a new client. When we sit down with our new opportunities, we explain the risk review and advice piece. And it shifts the client's way of thinking from, okay, give me a quote, how much is this going to cost me, to, I really need to understand the risks in my business. I really do need to understand how to transfer those risks to insurance. I do need to understand what tolerance I have for self-insurance or some level of self-insurance. And it shifts the conversation from a sales pitch to the clients really understanding that we're there to help them understand their risk. And it helps build that level of trust immediately. And they start to sit up and listen because they do understand that we're there to help. And when we go that step further and explain our remuneration model, they understand that we're not incentivized by commissions, or we don't have set agreements with certain insurers. So we're not pushing products where we're really deeply understanding our clients' businesses and operations and taking them on that risk discovery journey.
Yeah. One to watch this space. Let's see where we are in 5 years. Let's see if the words still exist. I'm interested to see how it progresses. Taking a slight step left, and I'd love to just touch on compliance and a little bit around data and compliance. And this is maybe a little bit more in the underwriting and insurer world, but you obviously you're very deep here, and so I'm interested in your thoughts. Navigating these administrative and compliance hurdles is a big challenge. It's a big challenge for underwriters, it's a big challenge for brokers, a really challenge for everybody in the value chain. I'd love to hear how you think around maybe the data disconnect between regulators and insurers and other folks across the value chain is contributing to some of this complexity and these hurdles that people are really struggling with.
Look, I think it's always a challenge in the insurance industry due to the complexity of the data that we need to put together insurance programs for clients, and all insurers have different data requirements and different information requirements and different types of products, and I think it's an area that's always going to be a challenge for the insurance industry due to the constantly changing nature of insurance and the constant change in risks and the constant change in products, and there's so many different pressures. From a compliance perspective, insurers are really struggling with the constant changes to legislation, and they're spending more time on compliance and keeping the regulators happy, and that's creating less business development time, and their resources are stretched, and they're operating from a place of I would maybe not necessarily fear, but they're very careful around what type of business they're writing, because they don't want it to set off another regulatory requirement that they have to comply with by offering a new product line, or even making an ex gratia payment on a claim that may then cause them to have to go back and make payments to other policyholders because they've made an ex gratia payment over here. So there's lots of regulatory pressure on insurers, which is then in turn causing more compliance headaches. But from a data perspective, I think the question is, how can everyone collaborate? How can insurers, brokers, risk consultants, how can everyone collaborate in a meaningful way that helps everyone in the industry operate better and write more business and handle claims easier and engage with consumers better and sell products more easily? So I think that's probably the biggest question to ask, is how can everyone collaborate in a more meaningful way?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, isn't it? How do you bring all of those different folks together? What kind of forum could be created that brings the right stakeholders together, that all have an aligned incentive, in which you have maybe a single data structure or a single information structure or whatever it is, to then be able to enable the data flows through the value chain to be simpler, allow everyone to do their jobs better? It's a very interesting question of what kind of forum you could create, and then how you could create essentially a single ledger, a single data structure that everyone has to abide to. I know there's some things within Europe they're trying to do there, but no one's really kind of jumped into it. So yeah, an interesting question to answer.
Yeah, and there's lots of pressure from incumbents to retain the market share that they have, of course, and IP issues and competitive products, and it is tricky. I don't know whether there's a magic solution to collaborating from a data perspective, but I do think that there needs to be a better solution in the way that we're interacting with consumers. As insurance advisors, we're doing more data entry and more administration than ever before because of the number of portals and platforms that we need to log into in order to interact with insurers. So our workload is getting heavier, not lighter, and you would think that with the advancements in technology now, that would not be the case, but it's having the opposite impact on us as advisors.
Yeah, I think the consumer data right is going to be an interesting play here, which is obviously open banking has come through there. Insurance is on the list. Obviously, it hasn't got there yet. It's going through electricity and telecoms first, but then it will get to insurance. Insurance is on the list, and then is that in the next 2 years or 5 years? I'm not sure. But a big part of that is that the consumer owns their data, and therefore it needs to be made accessible to anyone that they choose. And so there's going to be a big challenge for carriers who have 15 or 20 different systems with customers' information in lots of different places. But there is going to be a need for them to make that data available for a consumer to be able to take it and put it elsewhere. And so I think that may be a key driver for it, but it is a little bit of a way away. I don't think we're close to getting insurance to the top of the queue on that consumer data right, and then the actual implementation of it is going to take some time. But that may be a path to that data being available.
It's a massive challenge for insurers. A lot of them are stuck on legacy systems, and the cost of moving their data from these legacy systems is just simply too great. But as you say, there will come to the time where their hand is forced, and there'll be regulation that they'll have to comply with, and action will need to be taken. But when that will occur, I don't believe that there will be much change until it becomes a legislative requirement to do so.
Yeah. There's what's the saying? Going to show me the incentive and I'll show you the answer, or something like that. Something like Charlie Buffett or Charlie Munger says, something like that. Anyway, interesting. So I want to think about technology, just to kind of towards the end of the conversation. I'd love to touch a little bit on technology, and what we'd love to touch about on the pod is thinking, the future insurer. Where will insurance be in the future? And I'm really interested in looking ahead. From your view, what emerging technologies do you believe will hold the most promise for simplifying the landscape for you and to improve kind of brokers' efficiency, and how important is it for those technologies to be integrated to be able to make your job productive and do the best role for your customers?
Wow, that's a big question.
Big question, yeah.
I think big question. I think that there will be quick advancement in technology where customers are able to communicate their needs or submit their information in a much easier way, and our role as advisors will become very high level, and it will be 100% risk advice and less transactional administrative activities by brokers. But the future of insurance, I believe, is very quickly moving to that advice model, and consumers can buy insurance direct from insurers very easily, very quickly, and then our role as advisors will be guiding them on making better decisions or more well-informed decisions. And it comes back to that collaboration discussion that we just had. The technology of the future needs to be consumer focused. It needs to be collaboration focused, and we need to focus on doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Insurers just need to become good corporate citizens and do the right thing by our consumers and open up their data banks so that we can do a better job.
Yeah. It's so true. The collaboration is a real key theme here, isn't it? As we're kind of wrapping up, what is your vision for the future of insurance, and how do you see Clear Insurance contributing to that future?
So I see Clear Insurance contributing to the future of insurance in that transparent, risk advice focused manner where we engage with clients in a highly transparent way, giving them the correct risk advice for their business in a very customized way, and really helping our clients on an individual basis and giving them excellent personalized support and service, and acting as their advocates fiercely in the insurance industry. And that's our sole purpose, is to really serve our clients in a highly transparent way and taking them on that risk discovery journey. So my my vision for Clear Insurance is to become a very well-known, trusted brand where people know that they can go to Clear Insurance and get the right advice that's perfectly suited to them. They won't be sold a product. They won't be sold a cheap quote. It'll be, if I need the right advice, this is where I go.
Lisa, I absolutely love it. Thank you so much for your time today and your insight. It's truly inspirational to watch you and what you're doing, your team. It's thank you to you and your team for all of the work that you're doing. Your clients, I know, are very grateful and have a huge amount of positivity to say when you read any of the formers or anything you can read about Clear Insurance. The feedback is strong. So well done to you and your team. Thank you so much for your time today. It's been absolutely fantastic, and best of luck with Clear Insurance and looking after the dog in the background.
Thanks so much, Nigel. I really appreciate the opportunity. Thanks.
Absolute pleasure. Well, thanks, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Thanks again to Lisa. That was absolutely wonderful. If you want to watch the video version of the episode, make sure you jump into our YouTube channel. The link is in the description below. And as always, if you want to hear from any industry leaders who are pushing the boundaries in insurance, please do check out our other episodes of our podcast series, Building Tomorrow's Insurer. Thanks again. Enjoy the rest of your day and see you next time.